Welcome to the 8 News Now Investigator streaming show. I'm Kyle Paine in the 8 News Now streaming center. With a little reminder that we air this show at 7:30 on Monday nights, that my colleague Vanessa Murphy has her show, High Heels and Hidden Truths, which is an excellent look back at, in more detail at some of the excellent stories she's covered. High Heels and Hidden Truths Wednesdays at 7:30. Today, however, I'm joined by our reporter, James Schaeffer. James does a tremendous amount of work and a tremendous amount of excellent work. And James, You're the night side guy. Mm-hmm. You're on generally you're on at all hours, but your main shift is for the 11 o'clock.
Yep.
And recently we had a story that was so crazy and so fact filled, and there was intrigue. And it required you to not only use your immediate reporting skills, but also to do some digging. You had to read police reports. You had to examine video. And in this half hour, we're going to go through a deadly shooting on the highway that involved the police and all sorts of other things. So what I'd like you to do for our viewers, and there are many out there across the globe watching the 8 News Now Investigator show, I'd like you to just set it up a little bit so that we could get into the very first time this made the air with you and our Aaron Ariano.
So to give you some behind the scenes, back on June 10th, we were all in the newsroom when all of a sudden we heard a call of something happening on the I-11. Problem with that is we already had a call of a backup on the I-11 from a crash. When we got down there, we didn't really know much about the scene, and then before you know it, we heard there was a second scene at a hospital. We had two crews out. There was all sorts of make and model of just frantic stuff happening. We were rushing out with our photographers, and we were just trying to get an idea of what happened. What we knew for certain was this. There was some kind of deadly shooting by Nevada State Police on the Interstate 11 near Las Vegas Boulevard. And there was another scene at a hospital, Dignity Health near Sahara and Decatur. As the day went on, we ended up figuring out that both scenes were connected, and both scenes were connected to a suspect that was connected to that shooting that Nevada State Police had been pursuing. What we're about to show you is our news segment that we did from that once we had the initial details from that shooting and how it all started.
This is an 8 News Now breaking news alert.
Breaking here at 6, a large backup right now. You can see it near I-11 and Las Vegas Boulevard as officers are diverting traffic after a police shooting on the freeway. Now, we do have team coverage tonight.
Aaron Ariano is live near the scene where it happened earlier this afternoon, and James Schaeffer where it all ended. We'll start, though, with Aaron first, as this is causing a big headache for the evening commute. Aaron?
That's right. You can still see the northbound on-ramp right behind me still closed. Reports of the shooting came in around 2 o'clock this afternoon, just before 2 o'clock, rather. As we enter the 6 o'clock hour, still very little details, not a lot of clarity on exactly what led up to that shooting. The good news is, though, and this is information we have confirmed by Highway Patrol, is that the state troopers involved in this shooting, no serious injuries, according to police here on scene. But this is the scene from earlier this afternoon, the northbound on-ramp of I-11 right on Las Vegas Boulevard. Highway Patrol and Metro Police investigating this scene, still very active. All northbound lanes on Interstate 11 past Casino Center are closed. Now, for the drivers that were stuck on the highway earlier this afternoon, it appears that police, from what we could tell, were actually letting them come down the on-ramp in order to get them out of the way so they can continue that investigation. But again, no word on how long this investigation is going to take, but you really want to avoid the area for now. We also learned that the people involved ended up at a medical center near Decatur and Sahara. That's where James Schaeffer is live. James.
Aaron, yeah, police confirming two things. The first being that our scene is connected to yours out at Interstate 11 and Las Vegas Boulevard. The second thing they're confirming is that the vehicle here is the suspect's vehicle involved in that incident over on Interstate 11. We have some video that we shot just moments ago of that vehicle. It appears to be a dark-colored 4Runner Toyota, and it is against the emergency room doors. We can't tell at this moment if it came to a sudden speed and stopped right there against the wall. We can tell you that from what we saw, the driver's side window was damaged, possibly from bullet holes, possibly from impact damage. We also saw crime scene investigators going through that vehicle, searching it. Also, when we arrived, we did see Metro Police and Nevada Highway Patrol, as well as what appeared to be patients and family, possibly of patients, coming in and out before the whole scene got wrapped up by police tape as this scene was then closed. We then went to the dentistry next door and and asked what they saw and what they heard. They said they really didn't hear any commotion until they saw the police vehicles arriving and saw the news crews as well. We are still waiting on more information, as Aaron mentioned, from police. We hope to get that in the next half hour. Reporting live from the Sahara Indicator, James Schaeffer, 8 News Now.
And be sure to stay with 8 News Now for the latest updates on.
So we're kind of taking you through the adventure of doing a story like this. We know three things at that stage: that there was a crash initially, that there was a shooting, and that there was another crash at a hospital. At that point, we knew that all three were connected, but we didn't know what was going on with the suspect, if anyone was injured or if anyone was dead, which is more important for that matter, and if police were seeking anyone else. At that stage, we just had so many questions, and we as the audience, I mean, we're telling you exactly what we know and as much as we know in that moment, and so it was kind of an interesting scene.
I had a humdrum assignment to cover an after the election press conference, and then you guys were right there at the top of the show. And you're right; that is one of the major factors of our job. Whether you're doing in-depth reporting or you're here every day, is to go out there and speak for 2 minutes like that. It's a skill that not everyone has. You have it. Aaron has it, and you did a good job. I think it's fascinating that you're on scene and it's you getting there that alerted the neighbors. It wasn't the car crashing into the hospital door. And what did you see? What was going on at the crash?
So I walked into the dentistry that was next door, and I said, "Did you guys see anything? Did you guys hear anything?" And they said, "No. It was once the police arrived that we actually realized there was a problem." And I said, "Well, there was a car that has collided into the emergency room entrance. Are you aware of that?" And they went, "Oh, no, geez, holy cow." So once we started to make them aware of how serious this was, that police were there, that it was connected to a shooting, that's when they decided to close, I think, a little bit early after that. But at that point in time, we knew that we needed to get several different things. First would be an arrest report, which we'll talk about in a moment. And the second is body camera video, because it was known at that time Nevada State Police was involved and troopers were on scene, and they typically have body camera video. So even at that point, we already knew what our next day was going to look like, and more importantly, our next week as we continued on.
And so it's played out. I think it's interesting that just the way the cookie crumbles, you got to the scene where the crash happened and Aaron was at the traffic. The traffic didn't end up being the story. It, of course, ended up being where you were. So you were the person likely and accepting of the duty to get the police report. How long until the police report came in?
So that would be 2 days later, I believe.
Okay.
And we get that through the courts. But just to give a tease for what you're going to hear next, again, we were curious if someone died, what led to this shooting, why someone would run away from the police, and how. How did they get away from police, and what did police do to capture this guy?
Right. So we've got a whole bunch more of that. I was on one of these, our afternoon stream, trying to just communicate to the co-anchor, Sasha Loftus, how all this transpired. And it takes a couple minutes to really talk about all the crazy things that happened in the story. And we'll get to that on the other side of this break. Thank you for watching. Stay with us. Welcome back to the 8 News Now Investigative Streaming Show. I'm Kyle Paine, along with my colleague, reporter James Schaeffer. James does a fantastic job Monday through Fridays here at Channel 8. You can see his work on the web, and you can watch him on our broadcast partner on on Channel 8 every night. And James, you had what started as a hectic daily assignment, and now you've got to roll up your sleeves and do some big digging.
Right. So to catch you up, this is a car accident, then turn into a shooting, then turn into another car crash into a hospital emergency room. And we were curious as to what happened. So at this point in time, we had an idea that the person that we were looking for was the driver of that car that had an initial appearance in court. We had the information that he was due in court, and we had his name. That was Sean Shirazi. That was a 45-year-old involved in that June 10th shooting. At that stage, we also then requested the arrest report. Again, our key questions: who is this person? How did this happen? What led to the shooting? How did he get away? And at that point, our questions were, in some part, answered. We even had more questions after we received the arrest report, the story that we did on it, answering many of those questions.
And police say a man used his car to ram into a state trooper, pitting the trooper against a fire truck before police shot him and a passenger.
Now that passenger dying and the driver taking himself to an area hospital. 8 News Now reporter James Schaeffer in the newsroom with those details.
Brian, Denise, police said the driver, Sean Shirazi, allegedly took meth just before attempting to drive through a crash scene on Interstate 11 and Las Vegas Boulevard. Troopers attempting to stop him before opening fire. A backup at Interstate 11 on Wednesday was caused by a crash, but records say when Gerazi drove up, he thought it was a setup by police to arrest him. A woman in that car just becoming a passenger moments before. It would be on this freeway Gerazi allegedly attempted to drive by police into the crash scene, hitting a tractor trailer. Nevada State Police ordering him to stop his vehicle before Gerazi allegedly pinned a trooper between his car and a fire truck, police shooting him and the female passenger. Gerazi taking off and crashing his car here, the Dignity Health Hospital in Sahara, Decatur. The female passenger dying and Gerazi injured from a gunshot wound. This a 7-mile drive from the scene of the shooting.
Understanding that he is still in the hospital.
This afternoon, Justice of the Peace Lisa Luzayich reading some of the many charges.
I did find probable cause for his arrest for involuntary manslaughter, battery with use of a deadly weapon, resisting a public officer with a deadly weapon.
Gerazi not appearing in court as he's receiving medical treatment at UMC Hospital. Back at the scene, police said no troopers had serious injuries as a result of the shooting or crash, opening it up several hours later. The Nevada State Police have reviewed body cameras and dash cam video according to that report. We're waiting for more information at an expected press conference soon. Brian?
Gerazi facing several charges, including a felony charge of manslaughter and a charge of battery. His next court date set for June 16th.
So I think that manslaughter charge is now second-degree murder.
It is.
He is innocent until proven guilty.
Yep.
The narrative, though, you couldn't squeeze into the time that you have to do on TV.
No.
So let's talk frankly what police lead us to believe.
Right. So the first thing I want to say is that Nevada State Police did not conduct the initial investigation that was conducted by the FIT unit from Metro Police. So much of the information that I'm going to tease that we'll hear next is from Metro's initial investigation. Nevada State Police, though, their troopers being the one that fired off those shots. So you mentioned this second-degree murder charge, and that is in regards to a woman that was the passenger in that car, Corrine Barnes. She is someone, and I couldn't get into this in that report, that it appears as though through complete happenstance ended up as the passenger in this car. Moments before, allegedly, according to this arrest report, Gerazi was driving in that area before getting on the freeway and saw Barnes walking on the sidewalk on the on-ramp and said, quote, that she looked beautiful and asked, quote, if she wanted to smoke a bowl in reference to meth. She then got into the car. As they entered onto the on-ramp, Gerazi saw the police that were set up there. To him, it was a blockade. In reality, it was a car crash on the freeway, but he thought it was a setup by police, according to what he said to police in that arrest report. Now, you have to remember, he is also under the influence of drugs at this time. So he then enters onto the freeway, and at this point, he thinks police are after him, and he is trying to get through the scene. Police think he is acting recklessly and attempt to stop him. At one point, he then tries to roll down his window. He then rolls it back up. Police troopers feel as though that they are in danger and that others in that area are in danger, and then attempt to get him out of the car, according to the report. And then that's when that shooting happens.
So he, according to police, he picks up this lady for a little fun, a little drug smoking, and paranoid that he might be. Police say he thinks he goes through the barricade. They get relatively close, we're going to see in the video, and then all hell breaks loose. Police say that the trooper got off some shots, and we think that they hit the passenger and killed her. That's why one of the reasons I guess he is said to have made a stop, and then he drove to the place where you ended up at that medical area. Crazy.
Yeah. Our key question, though, still hasn't been answered, which is, why was he not pursued? How did Nevada State Police troopers not pursue this guy? If had not been for the fact that he ended up crashing into a hospital so that he could get medical aid, would he have ever been captured? And also, as Metro's investigation continues, we find that was not the only stop he made. And again, I'm teasing into something later here, which we're going to talk about when we get more video from Metro Police that conducted the initial investigation that was presented by Nevada State Police troopers. And again, we should say this, and we should reiterate it, a woman's dead, and she was shot dead. She was shot dead from bullets fired by Nevada State Police. The involuntary manslaughter charge, that second degree, what that is for her death. Nevada State Police troopers are going to say she died as a result of Gerazi's actions. Gerazi may not have fired the bullets, but he did drive the car. And that is the argument that you're going to hear in just a few minutes. But the thing as to why they fired off shots, does reckless driving necessitate that kind of reaction? That was our question, and we were curious if video would show us. I'm going to say this. There was a video floating around online showing that the trooper who was standing up the entire time was struck by the vehicle by the door that he had opened, but we had questions of whether or not he was actually pinned, as was put in the arrest report and as was said by Nevada State Police. That was a key word there, pinned. If this Nevada State trooper was pinned and his life was in danger, Nevada State Police would have the argument that his life was in danger and that others' lives were in danger and that vehicle was being used as a deadly weapon. So that was our question. Will the video show that?
Right. I suppose there's some room for a vehicle not pinning someone but heading towards someone being a deadly weapon. And I think the police made that argument during the press conference. And it's now created a lot of gray area, in my opinion, of what happened. Even though there's video, you'll see some video that was stopped. It's a fascinating story that we will hear more of when we come back from the other side of this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the 8 News Now Investigator streaming show. I'm Kyle Paine, along with my colleague, reporter James Schaeffer. James had this story dumped in his lap. It was very active scene, as we like to say when we get there. There was so much going on one end of the city, on the other end of the city, where traffic was at a standstill. And then you found what ended up to be the man who was arrested, crashing into a medical center. And that's where you were. So then we covered that great breaking news. And I'd say we were the only station to have 2 people handling that and doing a fine job while you're at it. And then the arrest report, which I don't know if people know, it's one of the reasons I carry these around. Those arrest reports are dense and they're single spaced and they're tiny and there's a lot of redactions and you have to, it's not only a reading job and like a research job, but it's interpretation. So you went through that hurdle. For the 11 o'clock news one night last week, right? Yep. And then we get to, we know that the body camera is coming at some point.
Right.
We maybe in certain stories also know that there's going to be 911 tapes. That may not be the case in this one, but the body cam we know is coming. So what preparation are you doing knowing that there's going to be an opportunity for you to also go to a press conference?
Right. A lot is writing on this, writing up until the video we're about to show you, but a lot is writing up onto this leading up to it. Our outstanding questions are this. When police fired their weapons, were their lives in danger? Is that a reasonable expectation to the average person viewing that video? Will they show the video? We know that they're going to show body camera video, but was it just dash cam? And when they show the video, are they going to show all of it? Previously, I mentioned that there was another video floating out there online showing that this trooper was struck, but not technically pinned as you and I might see it. Penned might be a better term, in that this officer's leg was between the door and the fire truck, possibly not at the same time, but that was an outstanding question we had. And the third is, a woman is dead. Barnes had this woman that was just in the passenger seat. Her only crime was not even that, was that she got into the wrong car. And the bullets fired by Nevada State troopers did kill her, although they'll tell you, and in the arrest report, it was the responsibility of Shirazi. It was through his actions that they felt it necessary to shoot and hit and kill her. Of course, we were curious as to how they felt about that. When she got into the car, she appears to, according to the arrest report, was going to commit some sort of illicit act, going to be smoking meth. So we were curious going up to this. Are they going to show the video? What are they going to say about it? And what do they have to say about this woman who has now been shot dead? I'm going to play for you now the video of that press conference and those questions and the outstanding answers afterwards.
An everyday crash on the freeway turns into a crime scene as an alleged reckless driver turned his car into a weapon. Nevada State Police releasing body cam video from a highway shooting which left one woman dead. I'm Denise Valdez.
And I'm Brian Loftus. 8 News Now reporter James Schaeffer asking why troopers opened fire and what message they have for the victim's family.
Brian, Denise, during a press conference today, new details revealed by Nevada State Police. We asked questions about the timeline and the reasoning for opening fire. With guns drawn, Nevada State Police troopers attempting to stop an alleged reckless driver from doing more damage. They say attempting to use his vehicle as a weapon. But how did this start? On Wednesday, Nevada State Police say here on Interstate 11 and Las Vegas Boulevard, Sean Shirazi was driving onto the freeway after picking up 40-year-old Corrine Barnes, allegedly to consume meth. But when Shirazi saw the police at an unrelated crash scene on the interstate, he believed police were there to arrest him on active warrants. In a panic, Shirazi striking a semi, then hitting a state trooper with his car. A trooper firing 6 shots into the car, striking Shirazi and Barnes. Put it in park! Shirazi evading police and driving to a hospital here at Decatur and Sahara. Barnes killed by gunshot wounds fired by Nevada State Police.
Any loss of life is tragic, and our thoughts remain with those affected.
Nevada State Police Colonel Michael Edgell, leading the press conference, said troopers attempted to pursue Shirazi, but he evaded them.
Well, you can't pursue a vehicle if you can't find it. We did expend all efforts to try to find that vehicle because we did just shoot at somebody.
Edgell acknowledging Barnes' death, but pointing out although a trooper fired the gun, Shirazi was driving the car.
She's in our thoughts. We feel terrible about this. Everything that happened is a result of Mr. Shirazi running from the police because he was paranoid at the time.
Now, Nevada State Police said a trooper was also pinned between Shirazi's SUV and a fire truck, increasing the danger and need for intervention from police, resulting in those 6 shots fired by that trooper. Denise?
We can also tell you that Shirazi faces several charges, including reckless driving, and he was previously charged with involuntary manslaughter, but that's since been upgraded now to second-degree murder.
So, a bit frustratingly so, that video does stop at the exact frame where police say that he was pinned. We had asked, why did the video stop right at that frame? The colonel, Nevada State Police, that we spoke to said the relevant material was from what we saw. We asked about the description of the use of the word pinned. They used that frame and showed it to us and said, that's the description. For us, we had these outstanding questions, and the video appeared to stop right before we could get some answers to those questions. Now, as to why they stopped, we were reminded by Nevada State Colonel Edgell that there's 2 ongoing investigations. One is an administrative, and the other is a criminal investigation. Now, they did not say that is the reason why we didn't show you more. They just mentioned it in regards to our question. There's a possibility that through either of those investigations, we will have another crack at it to get the full video. Also, frustratingly so, we were able to get the raw video from Nevada State Police, and it stops right back in that exact moment. And also, we don't see Nevada State Police troopers follow that individual, Shirazi. And that was something else we had a question about. Let the video play all the way through. What do Nevada State Police troopers do next? We would like to see that for ourselves, and we just did not get that satisfaction. We're attempting to get that satisfaction as we continue reporting.
So, an excellent job for the people who like when we peel back the curtain and show what's going on. You know, you had to do all those stories day of, basically. You get the document, you're on the air. Now you've got some time to air it out, to think about what's next, and to do some investigating. So, you know, there's the possibility of public record searches or FOIA requests or those kind of things in order to do let's say, for instance, that this someone in this defendant situation had a long criminal past or shouldn't have been in jail. We don't know that any of that's true, but he shouldn't have been out on the street. That's the kind of things that we then dig into, and it takes on a life of its own. So there's way more.
Right.
There's already been a lot. That is a hectic amount of information.
I'll leave you with this one last question that we still don't have an answer to that we are still hoping for, and you might have me back on. It was found in the arrest report that Shirazi didn't just go straight to the hospital. He went to someone's house, and there might have been a dead woman in his car, and he was shot, and he called someone.
And they were looking for him.
Right. So what efforts were underway? We hope to have those answers in a future story.
Okay, James, an excellent job. As I mentioned at the outset, this show premieres every Monday at 7:30. Vanessa Murphy's High Heels and Hidden Truths every Wednesday at 7:30. We thank you for watching this, and we hope you'll watch those. Thank you.